Welcome to GSD Nation's podcast, Programming Lions. Today we are going to talk about the most powerful superhero and supervillain of all time. We're also going to talk about the border, which has been in the news a lot lately. So let's get to work.
Okay, guys, our next topic today is going to be the border wall. We're going to be talking all about it and everything that's been happening lately. Let's get right into it.
All right, let's get to work.
Woo!
We're going to have strong, incredible borders, and people are going to come into our country, but they're going to come into our country legally. They're going to come in legally. We're going to build a wall. It's going to be built. It's not even, believe it or not, it's not even a difficult thing to do. And by the way,
The border has been in the news a lot.
Yeah.
Do you boys, let's cover a few fun facts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you boys know how many people cross the border into our country illegally every day?
Like 100,000.
Okay. Will, do you know?
I'll say
100,000 is a lot of people, man.
I'd say like 1,000 maybe.
Okay. Turns out it's 10,000.
Holy smokes! Why so many people?
Well, we'll get into that. Yes. So about 10,000 people cross the border illegally every single day, mostly through our southern border, which would be largely Texas, Arizona, Florida, etc.
Wow, that's a lot of people. That's more than I expected. I'd think it'd be like 10,000 a week.
Do you know what that amounts to over the course of a year?
Wait, that's it's like about 3.5 million.
That's exactly right, William. So we will have approximately 3.5 million migrants come across the border this year illegally.
That's not good.
Well, I mean, maybe it's good for them.
Not good for us.
And don't they just give a free phone and then they're like, meet here? But instead they just keep the phone and run away?
Well, let's get into that. So in a number of cases when people cross the border, they do give them paperwork.
Yeah.
Sometimes shelter, food.
And I heard that they're giving them like phones for they know.
Yeah.
Like when to like where to go when they get their license, or like not license, but like thing to be able to come into the be an actual citizen.
Right. Well, so do you think that's fair that people that come across? And before you answer, let me describe the horrors of people that do come into America. They go through hell in a lot of cases to get here. They might be migrating across Mexico. They might be coming from South America or other places, and the journeys are long. They're probably starving. They might have a family. There's all kinds of different sorts of people on these journeys that they might run into. They might be subject to assault, or for women, they might be raped or other horrible things that happen to people that make this journey to try to better their lives.
Yeah. And
so I want to think about it a little bit from the perspective of the people that are coming. You can understand why they want to maybe come to America. It's a land of prosperity and freedom, and they go to great lengths to try to make it.
Yeah. And
so, in some ways you have to obviously respect that and sympathize with what they go through to get here. So how do you feel about that from the perspective of the people that are coming and trying to get into the country? You understand why they're doing that?
I feel like maybe they're doing that because most places down in Mexico to South America, they're nearly as nice as America. America has fresh running water, it has houses, it has a bunch that has like a bunch of nice people, I guess, too.
More jobs, maybe a better
Yeah.
economy. Yeah.
Yeah, because like there's not many jobs you could probably also get down there, so they're maybe coming up here to help themselves and their family to actually make a living.
Yep.
Maybe, or in
Yes.
some cases, maybe get rich from stealing and stuff like that.
That too. Let me ask you a question, Max.
Okay.
If you lived in Honduras,
What's that?
it's a country in South America, and you were incredibly poor, didn't have a lot to eat, there weren't many jobs, and you had a family, and you wanted to do the best thing that you could possibly do to set up your family for success, would you stay in Honduras or would you try to come to America and take the risk?
Go to America.
Yeah. Okay.
That is the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom. Drop the mic.
Okay. So we've established why people would want to come to America.
Yeah.
And I think we have to empathize with why they want to come. They're trying to do, the right thing. Now, Will, you also pointed out earlier that some people just want to come to America because there is a lot of wealth here and they can steal. And so there are criminals that are also coming. And I don't know what the ratio of people that are coming with good intentions to criminals coming with bad intentions so they can steal wealth from people in this country. But I would venture to say a lot of people are coming to just make a better life for themselves, for sure.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a mix.
I think it's where most people come to try to make like a good life and good living.
Mm-hmm.
But when they get here, they find out that like sometimes they can't really.
Mm-hmm.
Or like they can't find a good job, or maybe they're just like too lazy to do it. So then they decide that they're just gonna. I feel like then they might just decide that they want to rob and stuff like that, and I think that's where most of robbing and criminals come from because of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You mean you think a lot of these migrants turn to crime?
Yeah. I think they turn to crime after they enter America. Like before they enter America, they're good, but once they get here, they change sides a little bit.
Okay, and you think that because they can't find the prosperity they thought they were going to have?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah, I think that might be true in some cases. And so right now we have 10,000 people crossing the border every day, and which is a lot. And one might argue that the reason we have so many people coming to the border is because they can cross the border. If we had measures in place where we wouldn't let them cross the border, well,
they wouldn't.
They would probably stay at home, right?
Yeah.
Well, so before we get into the border and some of the policies around that, it's an interesting way to think about this, but if these are all good people coming to this country to try to do the right thing, if the good people are leaving these countries to come to the United States, then what's left in the countries that they left? They moved away from?
Less population?
Less population, and what kind of people? If good people are moving here to better their lives.
Worse people. People that are probably nearly as good.
Yeah. So, do you think it's possible that us taking in all of these people actually hurts these other countries by taking some of their best and brightest?
Yeah.
And most motivated and most disciplined?
Yeah, I think so, because then it's where there's no one in those countries who are good, and then that country goes crazy, and you never know what can happen when a country goes crazy, because it goes crazy.
Yeah,
Nukes.
well, we've seen that a lot. Usually you get corruption, you get war, you get tyrants, and that is happening in a lot of these countries, unfortunately. And so, yeah, it's I think it's an interesting phenomenon when we open our borders to bring in the most motivated, brightest. We actually deplete the potential prosperity of some of these other countries. That could be an outcome, right?
Yes.
All right. So our policies today, one of the reasons, as we mentioned, that a lot of people are coming into the States is because they can. And look, if I could move into a bigger house with a nicer pool,
might as well,
right? So I can't fault them for wanting to come through. And we've established the fact that people are just trying to do the best thing that they can for themselves. Now, the reason they're able to do that is because we have a policy where we are allowing people to come through. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to get your perspectives on if you think that policy is right, wrong, or how many people should we let through? What's reasonable?
I feel like
do these people have like passports and all that?
No.
Like, so they don't.
No.
I feel like we should only, or like, I feel like I don't take away the policy, and then I think build the wall, and then people who do come to the wall, like maybe people that work on the wall or whatever, they will tell them to like meet at a certain place or at a certain time or something, and then if they do show up, if they do show up to get a license or a passport, like a
green card. I think they call it a green card when you can come into the States legally. So there are people that are coming in legally, and there is a process for that. You can apply to come into the country legally, and you get what they call a green card, and then you can be here. And over time, you can then apply to be a full U.S. citizen. And that's the way most countries work, is you can apply to come in temporarily. And if you're doing the right things and you're contributing, a lot of times you can be granted full citizenship over time.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a process for that. Unfortunately, the process takes time, and there's a lot of what they call red tape, or there's a lot of paperwork, and the government's very involved, and a lot of people just don't have the patience for that.
Yeah, so instead they just decide to come through and be illegal people.
Yeah. But what happens if you're illegal in the country? Do you know?
Jail maybe. That's what I would probably do. But
okay.
But like in modern day, people don't even care.
Right. So if you come in and you're illegal, it might hinder your ability to get a job, because most companies have practices around hiring people that with credentials that are here legally, etc. But nonetheless, there's not much, like, we don't put people in jail just because they're here illegally.
Really?
Well, yeah, we'd have to put 10,000 people in jail a day.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't be very good.
We don't have that kind of jail space.
Yeah. That'd be like 10 jails a day.
Yeah. And I just want to put this in perspective for you guys. 3.5 million people just this year are going to enter the country.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And we live in Phoenix. Do you know what the population here is?
What? No.
Maybe with the metro area, it's about 5 million. So
over
the course of the last 2 years, we will have brought more people into one of the largest cities in the United States, through the migration system.
Whoa.
Yeah. I read another piece of news that there are something like 15 states that have lower population than the amount of migrants that have come into the country over the last year. So just to put it in perspective, like, we have more people coming into the country than we have population in 15 states.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right? So it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. So it's a real challenge. And as we said, right now, policies are pretty open about it. And so then there's this question, well, what do we, where do all these people go when they're coming in? What do you think would be fair? Do they all sort of like find places down by the border? Do we get them up to various cities throughout the United States? What do you think we should do?
Well, that's the thing. I think, like, I like how they took all, like I said, I like how they were disciplined enough to come all the way here. But since if they're not allowed here, I would think you should just put them back outside the border.
And then
And
what are they going to do?
Post guards or something there.
And then you're just going to send them home?
Yeah. They're not supposed to be there.
Well, if you just traveled all the way from Honduras up and you got into El Paso, Texas, and then somebody put you on the other side and you're hungry and you're tired and you've got 2 kids with you and they just put you on the other side of the wall again, it's pretty devastating, don't you think?
I guess they could give them like a little bit of food or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Or like maybe if they really want to, they can move into one of those like illegal towns or whatever, right? Or like colonies.
Okay.
There's like giant things of those everywhere, so they could just move into one of those.
Oh, sanctuary cities?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have some of those.
Max, you want to say anything?
I kind of think if they come in, I kind of do agree with Will how we should at least give him some food and maybe like a tent for a night or something, and like
But you'd still send them back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a tough thing to do, right? When you meet somebody who's, or if you made it personal, right? If you saw one of these people and you talked to them and what they went through to get here, and then you just send them away, it'd be pretty tough to do, don't you think?
Yeah, but it's also not our fault that they didn't know that. I mean, it's literally, it's supposed to be where you're not allowed to come in without a passport.
Yeah.
Or a green card, I guess.
Right.
So.
Right.
I mean, they should know that you're not that they shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And then that would probably make you also not nearly feel as bad.
Right. Right. Well, and that's why I think there's a couple of challenges with this. There's the question of, well, what about all the people that are here? Millions and millions of people that have come into the country under this open border policy that we've had. What do you do with them, right? And then what about all the people that still want to come? And so I think the point that you are kind of making is, well, if they knew that they couldn't get in, well, then they probably wouldn't come.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why.
It's hard to send people. It's hard to send people back. Let's talk about that next. But if we could stop the flow coming in and tell people, like, if you come, you're gonna sit at the wall, or you're gonna sit at the board. You're not getting in, or we're gonna send you back. And we were firm about that. I suspect that a lot of people would stay home.
Yeah.
Right. But knowing that you can get through, they'll keep coming. Right.
Yeah.
So
it'll just be a massive amount of people.
Yeah. So it seemed to me. Do you guys agree that if we established a policy and communicated it to all these countries and maybe had a few examples of, like, no, we're stopping, like, it's closed, the doors are closed, then that might stop sort of new flow in. What do you think?
Definitely.
Okay.
Most, like, 100%. And then if like they don't listen to them, it's not our fault that they're dumb and that they're not listening. Because
we made it clear.
Yeah, and then once they get there, they just see, oh wow, that's one heck of a giant wall. Wonder how I could get over.
Well, I mean, I want to talk about the wall, like what deters people, but ultimately, so if we can stop the flow in by having a firm policy and sticking to it, that would help a lot. We agree on that.
Yeah.
Then there's this question of, well, all the people that are here, it's difficult to send them back because we basically had a policy where, hey, come on in if you want to make the trip, you can be here. And we have sanctuary cities, and we've been busing people up to these sanctuary cities. And now the sanctuary cities, of course, are saying, oh, this is too much for us. But
way too many.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to say you're a sanctuary city until you actually need to be a sanctuary city, apparently.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, they're trying to do the right thing, and now we have all these people here. So what do we like? What do we do with that? Because we kind of told them it was okay to come, and now they're here.
Well, that's like a problem that's like it has a really hard solution.
Yes.
I would just say you need to get a passport or a green card or like an ID. You'll need to get an ID here, and then you'll be able to stay. If you do not get one within like the next blank amount of days, then you will have to leave.
That's a really interesting idea. So having people get IDs, and what do you think that would do in terms of helping us understand what?
That'll help us understand, like, keep track of everybody and know who is who, instead of just like say like you're a government official or something and you walk up. Let's say Max is someone who crossed the border. And I'm like, you need to pay the taxes right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you just say like, I'm not. Next, say like
I'm not American.
Or so he's not a part of America.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, you're here, so you still have to pay the taxes.
Yeah.
But then he just doesn't pay the taxes.
Yeah.
So that would be
sentenced
an issue.
to death.
No, Max. There's no sentences to death.
Sentenced to death for not paying taxes, Max?
That's pretty harsh.
That is harsh, but
Max.
some people might want to do that. Yeah, so what I think is interesting, Will, about this concept of getting IDs is it would allow us to screen out a little bit. No system is perfect for this, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it would allow us to screen out those that are coming over really to make a better life for themselves. They want to engage in the economy. They want to get jobs, work, pay taxes, be part of the system.
Yeah.
Those are
good people.
Honest, good people that are just trying to do better for themselves. And I'm sure there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's probably a good amount of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, there's also criminals. So if we did have everybody get IDs, I suppose we would be able to look at or screen for criminal background and then obviously not allow those people to get IDs. And then therefore, folks that didn't get IDs would either be highly suspect for criminal background or behavior, or something of that nature, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then everybody who did get IDs, because we've told them, hey, go get IDs, and then that will allow you to start getting acclimated into the system.
Yeah,
that's an interesting idea, Will. I think that could
possibly work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
versus sending people back, which is it's very difficult. And now, when people get into the country, they spread out and they're all over the place. And so sending people back is, I think,
necessary.
It's unfortunately not possible. I don't think, and it's very difficult to perform that.
Yeah.
And it's also perhaps in some ways not right, because we essentially said we got an open border, come across, and then to have them get here and send them back seems a little, contradictory.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. They would then have a choice to make between staying here and not staying here, and that be getting their ID or passport.
Yeah.
And then they would and then you wouldn't feel bad, because then they'd have they literally had a choice where, like, would you like to stay here or would you like to go back to your home?
Right.
Yeah, and then they have to travel all that distance that they came here to, like, they had to travel all that distance back.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be pretty rough. Well, okay, so we've covered really what we could do to maybe stop the flow, and then what we could potentially do to manage the current inventory of migrants that are here. I want to bring up a couple other aspects of this that maybe we haven't thought about or talked about yet. But we brought across 10,000 a day, so millions of people over the last couple of years, and all of these people that come into the country, guess what they might need?
Food,
water, shelter, whatever you need, air conditioning,
medicine,
medicine, yeah,
drugs, yeah. All they need is just more drugs.
What if,
More
You
drugs.
can think of drugs in two ways. You can think of medicinal drugs, which people might need to be healthy, and then there's also drugs that people might be bringing across to try to make money or earn a living because they're not legally residents of the country. And so a lot of times you can deal drugs and you can do that in cash, and it's not a recorded transaction.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but yeah, let's go back to this. So there's a lot that these people will need provided for them, right? In terms of shelter, water, food, transportation, healthcare. So, as you know, many people need some type of healthcare. Maybe somebody comes across the border and they have a heart attack, and then they go to the hospital, and our
They can't
hospitals
really pay for it.
Yeah,
they can't pay for it. So,
Yeah.
but the hospitals aren't going to turn away somebody that's coming in with cardiac arrest. They're going to administer them into the ER and treat them, right?
Yeah. And
then who pays for that?
us right now.
Okay.
It should be them though. I think it
but
should
they don't
be
have
them.
any money. They just came across
Yeah.
the border.
Well, that's
It's
the
just
thing.
us,
They,
'cause-
after that, they then work and then they save up money and then they pay.
Yeah.
Kind of like those things I always see in the car commercials.
Yeah, like
right?
they take a loan. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either like you could pay for all of it immediately, or you could pay like say maybe $400 for 3 years.
Yeah. Well, if they're here illegally, how does somebody track them down to get paid? Like if you're the hospital and you did all this work, and you say, "Hey, send me your address so that we can, send you the bill so you can pay us later." Do you think people are gonna pay that back?
Well, normally when like I remember when I went to the doctor when I had my migraine, I remember they just got my my mom's ID immediately, so then they could pay for it right then and there.
Yes.
So then
that's because we had an appointment and we went to see a doctor. But if you have an emergency and you just go into the urgent care or emergency care, they'll treat you. They're not. If you have a life-threatening situation, they won't turn you away.
Yeah, they'll just send you straight into the emergency room.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I don't think they'll probably like say to the people who are asking for all this money for it, they'll probably say, can you always give us the money? And then they'll be like, I don't know where to get it.
Right.
So then, yeah.
So then, what did we say? Who pays for it?
Us.
Okay.
Taxes.
Not us specifically, but
Taxpayers.
Taxpayers, those that are earning income and paying taxes, will subsidize those that are not, so that they can still get health care, particularly for emergency needs, and not be turned away, that kind of thing. Because that would be pretty inhumane, right? If somebody's coming in with life-threatening, just to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you don't have money, so you're just gonna die." Like that would.
Yeah, that's pretty hard.
That's not how we are in America, which I can appreciate. But then the taxpayers get stuck with that bill, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Which is more money for us, but less money for them.
Right. So, do you have any guesses on what our healthcare costs are doing over the last few years?
I think they've skyrocketed and tripled.
Yeah. Brilliant. You're a genius.
What a big brain! Such a giant brain!
Wow, you put all that together.
Wow.
Yeah. So healthcare costs are getting to the point where they're almost unaffordable, even for taxpayers, working taxpayers.
It's not good.
Yeah. So that's pretty wild, right? Okay. Well, let me ask you about another aspect of the migration situation. We've been to restaurants and shops over the last couple of years, in particular, ever since COVID, where they don't have enough workers. So sometimes they're closed, right? Because they just don't have enough workers. Don't you think this could be good? We have these migrants coming across and they want jobs. And so maybe they'll take these jobs at the restaurants so that the restaurants can be open and flourish, and and then we can go and enjoy those services.
What if these people who are coming from the border, what if they don't work? And what if that happens? And like, what if that? Since they have all that long journey to get here and they just don't work.
I think it could be an interesting idea if like they like if they really did need to do jobs, they could like work at these places.
Yeah.
And that would earn them more money.
Right.
Yeah, but like otherwise, are you sure they'll work? Like, you never know.
Max, you bring up a really good point in terms of these people that are coming into the country. Are they going to be willing and able to take some of the jobs where we've seen holes or gaps in the economy? That could help some of these stores stay open. It could make better services for those of us who are utilizing some of these stores or restaurants or businesses. So that could be a benefit. But if they're not working and paying taxes, well, then what?
Well,
then they just become a more cost on the system, right?
Yeah, then they
Healthcare,
just become like
food, shelter, transportation, these things.
Yeah, and we don't want that.
Yeah.
So that's also a very tricky situation because like then you don't quite know how do you enforce it to make it. What do you do? Like they have to work and pay their stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of everyone else doing it.
Right.
That's a hard thing to think about.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, this is why it's such a hot topic in politics, and particularly where we live in Arizona. A couple other perspectives that I'd like to get. One is we just talked about, could be good. We have some migrants coming in that want jobs. They want to work. They could take some of these jobs in the economy that are open.
Yeah.
Do you have some ideas on why there are so many jobs open in the economy? Previous to COVID, seems like stores were open, restaurants had workers, now there's a lot of people that are able to work but not working. What do you think?
I think since once COVID-19 hit, everyone was like, "Oh my God, it can like kill like the population, and it can be like all that." So then people left and stayed home with 5 masks on their mouth. So then it's just like that's, and then people were like, "Oh, guys, gotta close the store. Gotta keep home, be safe from this like Black Death."
Yeah.
I think the main reason why stores are closing down is because taxes and all that stuff, mainly because of the maybe the reason why like the stores were closing down is because during this time the immigrants, like the illegal immigrants, maybe they were just coming in this time because they COVID, right, and they don't have really vaccines or any medicine back in South America in any of that place. So they might come over here like to our hospitals and all that stuff to get help and all that.
Yeah.
And so then because of that, because as we just talked about, we had to pay, or like we have to pay their medical bills. It could be, or maybe as that happened, that also took off most of the stores.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, perhaps. And perhaps also just in general, some of our policies have made it easier for people to stay home and not work, like extended unemployment and entitlements.
Like people are literally getting paid to not work, which is strange.
Yeah, we should cover that in a future podcast.
Yes, stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. So, all right. Well, that's all very interesting. Couple other things. All these people coming into the country, what do you think that does to crime rates?
I think that raises them. Because these people, right, when they come in, they don't have a job or anything. So the first thing that probably comes to their mind is to like do crime, stuff like that. Yeah, steal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it's wrong, sometimes people feel like that's the only thing they can do to get
live,
money to live, right?
Make a living.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, it turns out that is the case, right? Crime is generally going up in our cities, and also drugs. Yeah, drug situations. Fentanyl, you've heard about. Obviously, we've talked about how you just have to be very careful, and you guys are getting to an age where you might be more exposed to this in the future. But a lot of drugs are coming across the border, and some of them are made in ways that put people at risk, and so it's just more ammunition around why you should not engage with drugs and that kind of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Well, last question. There's been a lot of talk from Trump to Biden about the border wall. Donald Trump was committed and got funding to build the wall. They started building the wall. They didn't finish the wall,
but they got a good amount done.
And then Biden came in and he said, not one more foot of the wall. In fact, maybe we can play a clip of that. But he said, not one more foot of wall will be built.
No, there will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration. Number one. Number two, what I'm going to focus on, the fact is that
approximately 10 hours later.
Now time has passed, and mayors like those in New York and California and some of these sanctuary cities, and there's been a pretty intense outcry for security around the border, and now they have restarted building the wall.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange and funny.
So do you think we should have a wall?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
If we don't have a wall, if we have a wall that'll protect us, basically, from illegal immigrants coming in, it's basically like the key point to saving all this stuff that's currently happening, like jobs, taxes, all that stuff. It'll save most of that stuff from getting worse and worse, because these people because if we make the wall, then people can no longer come in. If people no longer come in, then we no longer have to pay for their taxes and bills. Yep. And if that doesn't happen, then it would be where there'd be not near all this stuff would basically just be solved.
Yeah. Okay. So you would build the wall.
Yeah. If we build the wall, it'd basically help everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, not those that are coming across.
Yeah, but
they
have to make it like they can. Sorry, if they do want to still come across, they could just get a passport or something like that, and
go through the process.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up this topic, I want to ask this question. Let's bring this border wall thing into like real close to home. Let's say we live in a neighborhood. Do you think, or our property, we live on this piece of property. You're familiar with it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We don't have a wall.
Yeah.
Some people have walls. You've seen, you have friends and they have walls and gates around their properties, right?
Yeah.
We don't have one, but we could put one up. We have the right to do that here. Do you think we should put up a wall?
Well, the thing is, since our house is just this little property, and you have the right to protect our land. Then if anyone tries to steal anything, you could fight them with, AK-47s, SMGs, your own fists.
AK-47s
your
and
own
SMGs.
Feet.
Max, you've been playing too much Fortnite.
Max.
And feet. Okay.
Get that thing out.
Max, actually, you bring up a really good point, which is this is our property.
You can just kick them off.
We have the right to defend our property. It's a right as part of our Constitution and our property rights that we can defend our property. So if people come on our property, we have the right to defend ourselves and make them get off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell them you're not allowed to be here.
And put out an AK-47.
Yeah.
Stop with the AK-47.
That might be extreme. That might be extreme, but if people came on with bad intentions, well,
then you might need to bring
they
out
would be
something.
seen. They might be, they might be seen with force then, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, if robbers or people are coming here with the intent to kill us or rob us or something, well, then we would have the right to sort of defend ourselves with deadly force. If somebody just came and they were sitting, let's say, down on the corner of our property, eating lunch out of their lunchbox because they thought the view was good, what would we do with that?
I would say get out of our property.
Okay.
I feel like I might do like if they're here for a long time, I would say like get out of here.
Yeah,
but if
just
if they look like a
take a
normal
picture.
person, if they look like a normal person that's just eating their lunch and wants to enjoy
Right.
the view, it's fine. But if they stay here and like make a tent or
Yeah, I was
something,
gonna say, what if they put a tent? So eating lunch is one thing because maybe they just they're sitting, maybe they're working at somebody's house across the street and doing construction, or and they're just eating their lunch. They're not harming anything, and they're not bothering us necessarily because they're down in the corner or whatever.
Yeah, but if they put a tent in our yard, then I'm going down there and I'm saying, get out of our property. You can't sleep here.
Yeah, you could say it maybe a little nicer than that. You could be like, hey, turns out this is our property. How about you skedaddle, right? So so we could be very civil about it, but we have rights around our property, and then those rights can escalate into force if needed. So that's what we have here. Now, how do you translate that into the United States, right? The United States and the Mexico border. Do you think we have the same right?
Well, Mexico, they're not.
It's not individuals' property, but it's the United States property, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's our right, and then if we have the right to do it in our yard, then that would mean that we have the right to do it across basically.
Be like
basically
people
just
coming in
like
and
across
camping
the
on our
whole
yard, right?
southern yard, right?
Yeah.
We could just. It's like putting up a giant wall across our southern yard, right?
Yeah.
It's just putting up an even bigger and gianter wall across the southern yard of the United States.
Well, and you see this in some communities. Ours is pretty open, but in some communities or some people they want more privacy. So we could put up a wall. Like, let's just say we had people coming and putting tents or eating lunch every day down on the corner of our property. We might just put up a wall, right?
Yeah.
And then that would keep them off. And if they climbed the wall and came in, well, then they would be breaking the law.
Yeah,
and
that'd be trespassing.
All right, we've covered a lot on this topic of migration, how it affects micro, macro economics, property rights, what we could do to incentivize things differently, perhaps. Very, very interesting, boys. I appreciate your perspective on this as young men. With that, we will take a wrap.
If you like our content and agree with our mission, it would really help us out if you like, subscribe, and comment. Engage with us. Become part of the GSD Nation. Let's go.